So I've just seen season 2 episodes 3 through 7 of My Adventures with Superman, and oh man, this is such a good season, so much better than season 1. So and so in fact, I had to write down a little bit of notes here and there, so if you see me look over, just know, hey, I'm looking at some notes that I want to cover within here. One of the big things I did want to talk about throughout these couple of episodes that I've seen is the theme of communication, because everybody just seems to suck at talking to each other. Lois and Clark can never talk about anything. Hey, I need to talk about this thing about my cousin. Oh no, I gotta do something else. Hey, I need to talk about my dad. Oh nope, sorry, I gotta talk about my job. Nope, I can't do that either. Everybody starts to communicating with each other. Lois and her dad never seen eye to eye. Every time Lois tries to get close, he runs off, and Lois tries even more, he runs off again. You think in one of these episodes it would be different, but it ends with him running off again. And even Jimmy has flaws of communicating also for some reason. Him and Clark are supposed to be best friends, but he found out Lex Luthor, the guy he gave a pep talk to a couple episodes ago, has created this company and created a whole campaign around aliens and Superman, saying no aliens are allowed here, Earth is for Earthlings. He doesn't want to talk about it with Clark either. Well, some people not communicating in this show, it's starting to piss me off a little bit. Clark and Lois easily feel like the most important characters to me. It feels like this entire story is written around them and their struggles of seeing their relationships with other people and whether they'll stay together or not, because apparently they have a hard time staying together. And where the last episode left us off, Clark is now also housing Lois's father. How long can this last? Not long. I think it ends in the same episode it starts, really. Maybe the next episode. But the first episode I saw, episode 3, was really about this company Ameritech and how fucking stupid their leader is. And there's not really much to say about this episode. I wanted to just say a couple of things. One of the main things is Silas Stone and John Irons making an appearance. I'm not as familiar with John Irons, but I know he is a name and character that I should know later on within here, maybe. I do know who Silas is, though. Please tell me we get Cyborg one day in this series. That'd be pretty cool. They did say it's like 10 in here, though, but I wouldn't mind a 10-year-old Cyborg. That'd be funny. But the entire point of that episode was to just transition Ameritech into LexCorp, because Lex Luthor has come to take over and he's going to continue to take over. And then the episode after that is the Star Labs presentation, where he invites Jimmy to come on stage and present something with him during that event, and he brought Clark there as a +1, but it turns out the entire event was a campaign against Superman, the Superman problem. And while Jimmy's sitting there trying to like praise Superman, say, oh, he's here for good, he's here, he does good for us, he chooses to do good, he's never going to use his powers for evil. And Lex Luthor says, yes, he chooses to do good, but what if he decides to do evil? Kind of reiterating what we've heard Waller say before every now and then. Even in other series, she says stuff like this. And the speech is pretty interesting. You can tell it's not for the general masses, because the normal masses are going to be like, okay, I mean, he's doing good now, what does that matter? But what's important is that he was able to convince the Pentagon, the law, and Star Labs itself to kind of help fund the Superman issue. They're gonna start funding all of these different technologies to take out Superman. I'm so happy that Lex Luthor took over Ameritech, because one of my complaints within here was going to say a lot of the technology these scientists and stuff are working on within this series just kind of looks the same. I don't know if they're just very low on assets or something in the show, but a lot of things people are building just look the same. And they were able to get away with it for the most part with everything that Task Force X was doing, because they were doing things inspired by the Kryptonian tech they were working on. But then Ameritech popped up and they built some robots that weren't inspired by the Kryptonian tech, and they just still looked the same for some reason. It's weird, right? I think it's weird, but you know, with all of it under the same conglomerate now, I guess it's better that the tech looks the same now. One of the underlying parts about this episode was Superman feeling like an other. He doesn't even want to be called Superman. I should have said Clark. My fault, man. He's afraid that Jimmy only wants him there because he's Superman. They invited him because he's Superman's best friend after all, so you're only inviting him because, hey, here's an alien I can talk about. No, he wants him there because he's Clark, his best friend. That's why he wants him there. And Clark's kind of happy about that, but then, they're ambushed him with all this Superman problems. Superman's a bad guy. What if he starts doing something evil? We gotta stop him. And he's kind of a little upset from that. And obviously Jimmy is a little surprised with this also. He doesn't know how to react towards this. And then Lex Luthor turns around and thanks him. He thanks him for inspiring him and says if it wasn't for him, he wouldn't have decided to done this. So now Jimmy kind of feels like he's the problem, so he ends up running away. He's trying to avoid Clark at this point because, you know, he just kind of feels like he's the problem. Which in a way, he is, but I don't think it's wise to run away from a guy who's already feeling like an other, surrounded by people who's telling him he's an other, he's an alien, he's a freak, he should stay away. Well, the B story of this episode is about Lois and her dad, and might I say right now, I don't like Lois's dad. I don't like Lois's dad at all. But to be fair, you're not supposed to like him in this story. He's supposed to be seen as the other. He was the former leader of Task Force X. He captured Superman in the last season, tried to interrogate him, tried to tell him that he is evil. And now to be in a situation where he has to live with who we know as Superman, all because Lois wants him in her life, is quite interesting. Well, we'll see a weird juxtaposition later on. But Lois arrives, and he's trying to run away. He's trying to get away from this whole situation because he's like, Waller's after me. I have to go. And she won't let him. She follows him, only to find out he was getting ambushed and tricked by Waller's goons. Slade Wilson, whom I add, it's so weird that they decided to have Slade Wilson be a snarky, like, young adult. It's a weird decision, right? But since he got ambushed, oh boy, does he want to run away now. But he's going to listen to Lois out, because throughout this whole episode, we get a backstory of how he's been treating Lois this entire time, saying he's been preparing her for the outside world because the outside world is a dangerous place. He works for the government after all. He knows how dangerous the outside world is. Lois just wants him there, man. She just wants a father for once, bro. Like, gift that to her. So he's trying to. He decides, hey, I'm gonna stay with my daughter for a little bit and I'm gonna see if this works. Let me trust her. The minute she goes off to get him something, he runs off. He disappears. He's gone. He's off the grid. He's on the run. He's swum across the ocean to China or something. I don't know. He's just gone. And now Lois is kind of sad and feeling like an other. And it didn't help that when Clark was listening in on them, he called him weird. He said, hey, Clark is weird. And she was like, yeah, he is. And he didn't hear the rest of that conversation. He instantly flew up and was like, yeah, I'm definitely feeling like another right now also. And he didn't even pick up when Lois tried to call him, and since he's feeling so alone and so by himself at this point, he clicks on the beacon. Him and Lois have yet to talk about this, so he's right there contacting Kara, Supergirl, right now without anybody knowing what he's doing, and she arrives in the next episode. I'm gonna be honest, I've seen a few people complain here and there about her design, saying she's a little too inspired by Android 18. I don't mind it. I really don't care. I think she looks kind of badass. I think it's a cool homage, you know, she's cool. Superman's cool, Dragon Ball Z is cool, it's all cool. Also, I have never cared for Jimmy more than I do right now. I think it's safe to say at this point that I'm a huge sucker for romance in a lot of different shows, and nothing's really an example of that point until now, where we're seeing Jimmy talk to Kara, get her acquainted with earthly traditions, show her what ice cream is. It's all so cute and lovely. Let her eat a hot dog. What's going on here? Why is my heart fluttering like this? Jimmy's doing all this so he doesn't have to talk to Clark still, because he's still kind of weirded out about the whole Lex Luthor thing. And Kara's there because she wants to see her cousin, who we know is Clark. Always weird juxtapositions here. I love it. I love it. So they go around the whole day on a bunch of different trips and festivities and just doing a lot of different things. Also, Jimmy can feel better about himself and it's like, hey, I've been avoiding my friend. Let's go see my friend and then we can help you find your cousin. So they go to Superman's thing, whatever Superman's doing, and she's disgusted by the sight of her cousin doing this. What weird, disgusting earthly traditions is this? Flashing lights going on, weird, colorful paper falling from the sky, all these cameras around. Why are you doing this? Why aren't you trying to conquer this world? What's going on here, Clark? But he brushes her off to go talk to Lois because Lois is upset right now because basically this whole episode was about them doing this bachelor's contest, and she wanted to pretend like Superman was single so they wouldn't find out that Superman was Clark. So he obliges and she gets upset from it and she broke up with him. And the minute she did that, Kara came busting through They had a fight, a great fight, mind you, a fantastic fight. But now, Superman is captured for the second time at the end of a season. This time by his cousin. She's taking him back to her home planet, her home spaceship. Basically, she's taking them to see her father. And this is what I mentioned earlier when I said weird juxtaposition, because Lois keeps trying to go back to her father, keeps trying to give her father all of these chances. I know he kidnapped Clark, but he's my father. I want to talk to him. Kara just kidnapped Clark and she's like, she's evil. We gotta take her out. I pulled up the kryptonite. We gotta throw it at her. We gotta hit her with the kryptonite. And Jimmy is trying to talk some sense to her, like, listen, you sound like your dad. He should have said Clark gave your dad a chance after he kidnapped him, but he didn't. That would have been a great point to add. But he just talked her down. Hey, talking works. Communicating works. This shows people have a bad problem communicating with each other. Just talk to one another. It works, I promise. And also, in a way, one of the themes throughout the story has been about, is Superman going to be evil? Is he not going to be evil? The entire Kryptonian Empire tried to conquer Earth before. Clearly, he's going to be evil, right? Lois got this thing showing a bunch of different dimensions of Superman where he is evil. What is this building up to? I guess it's building up to Kara. She's evil. She's for the Empire. She wants to conquer Earth in the name of the Kryptonian Empire. And she's trying to tell Clark all of this, but Clark isn't going to hear it. He doesn't want to destroy Earth, and she keeps saying, you're weak, you're stupid. But you can tell something's wrong. She kept pictures of her and Jimmy. She seems happy when they go outside and play this weird game of catch, but she's still adamant about her wanting to conquer Earth or wanting to go see her father or different stuff like that. And it's getting weirder when she's talking about the thrivingness of the Empire and they go to see one of the planets and it's in shambles. It's in ruins. What's going on here? I'll tell you what's going on. It's Brainiac. Brainiac's her father, or her guardian, or whatever. Her actual father's dead, of course. And he's calling shots here. He wants to bring forth his own version of the Kryptonian Empire. He's destroying countless of planets in the name of Krypton. And Kara, none the wiser, obliges. Not none the wiser. He brainwashed her. He's controlling her. But her love for Jimmy is pulling her out of it, slowly but surely. And now it's seeming like they might have captured Clark. They might have brainwashed Clark. They got him to kneel down to Brainiac, and he said that's all he needed to do to take over his body. So are we actually about to get an evil Superman right now? Are we about to get what this show feels like it's been building up for the past 2 seasons? An evil Superman about to destroy the world, and maybe Kara and Lois and them have to talk some sense into him. This Lois has to do the old I'm gonna hug you to calm you down type of situation right now. I feel like that's the only thing that can work in this situation. A la Katara when Aang first went into the Avatar state type stuff. But with that being said, what do you guys think of these couple of episodes of my adventure with Superman? I really like to know. Leave them in the comments down below. I really wonder how they're gonna wrap this up. They only have a handful of episodes left. If it's gonna be the same amount as the last season was, that means they only have 3 episodes left to wrap up them defeating Brainiac and somehow defeating all these robots and stuff and going back to Earth, only to find that Waller has initiated a human defense corps and has Metropolis on martial law, so many robots out, only to destroy Superman and Kara. What's going to happen? How are they going to wrap this up? I really like to know. What are your opinions? Leave them down in the comments and I'll get back to them as soon as I can. Okay, goodbye.